sad day, especially for America, but really for the whole world. Um, as many of you obviously know, Rush Limbaugh has passed away at age 70, passed away in his home. I could tell it was coming, but you always kind of like to think that people like him are going to live forever. He broke down so many walls, created so many careers and wealth that, I just don't know if there's going to be another media star like him. I remember when I first started listening to him, I had never even heard of Rush Limbaugh. And for some reason, I got his book. I was stationed in Korea on a 1-year remote tour by myself, living in a little apartment in downtown Osan. And I got his book, The Way Things Ought to Be. It's 1993. And I read his book and I was addicted to what he was saying. And Armed Forces Radio would carry an hour of it every day. And I get home, and when I transition back home anyway, I always found a way to listen to him when possible. And, I'm not a big fan of listening to people. I find that even though I agree with them on principle or some other issue like that, many of them are pretty shallow thinkers. And I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying they just don't have that ability to think deep like certain people do. Very few people actually can. Nowhere near shallow like the left, don't get me wrong. But they just weren't able to get down into the weeds, or aren't able to get down into the weeds. And Rush was able to do that. And I was always impressed with how he did it, how he interacted with his audience, and how even when faced with adversity, he always handled himself as a gentleman. We disagreed on some things, but not a lot. I'm just, I think I'm just like a lot of people right now, stunned. And, of course, the left in their childish ways are dancing on his grave already. He's not even in the ground, calling him awful things. And again, all they're doing is projecting, because what they're saying he did about decisiveness and hatred and bigotry and everything else is what they are. It wasn't what Rush was. It's not what we are. They just didn't like that Trump would speak his mind, and then he wouldn't back down from it. Sort of like Trump. And they didn't like it because they couldn't separate his audience from him. And he said something during the Trump campaign that really made me think about it. I never thought about it this way. And, I think he knew this was the case because this had been going on with him with 20 plus, 30 plus years. He said the media keeps trying to separate Trump from his base. And they can't do it because the media didn't create Trump. Trump created himself. And Russia's the same way. The media, especially early on, he talked about how rude some of these people were when you go to a dinner party or something like that in New York City. That's one of the reasons he eventually got out of New York City and moved to the Southern Command there. And, they kept trying to shame his audience, and they couldn't do it. And his audience still, to this day, dwarfs anything that they've got. And I don't know what they're going to do. We kind of really need his voice right now, but unfortunately, we're not going to have it. I said that everybody was talking about 2020, and 2020 is a bad year. But I thought there was a chance that 2021 was going to be worse than 2020. And that's pretty much shaping up to how it's going to be. I'm going to do another video here later today about how that Capitol attack now, we kind of have definitive proof that it was orchestrated by the left. And I always knew that. I watched some video of it, and I could tell they weren't Trump supporters. But it was orchestrated by the left, ran by the left. And Pelosi, and I'm not sure about McConnell because he fired his sergeant of arms, but at least the sergeant of arms, they were the reason this was to happen. And it was all choreographed. And I'll explain that later. Rush could have explained that so much better than me. But we're going to have to get through this and get on with it. And I will always hold Rush in high esteem. Best wishes to his family. Our prayers go out to you. I know he was very tight with his brothers and his niece. And of course, his wife. He really leaves a legacy like no other. Very, very few people are able to leave a legacy like him. And he should be proud of that. And I'm sure he is. And his family should be proud of that. Some of us live on this earth for 25, 30 years. Some of us live on it for 100 years. And some people who live on it for 25, 30 years do more in that 25, 30 years than others do in 100. And Rush got to live to be 70. And his mark is unquestionable. All right, y'all have a good day. Bye.